Well, I think I'm going to tell a short story. I've been a lot of different things, Denise, over my career. I've been a university professor. I've been a real estate developer. I've been a hockey guy. It's kind of hard to pin me down, but I'll tell one story that might help our viewers understand a little bit more about me. I was actually on track to being a university professor. I was studying for my PhD at the Australian National University in Canberra in urban economics. And my dad, who was living in Ottawa, Canada at the time, came to visit me in Canberra. And he told me his business in Ottawa wasn't doing very well. It was 1983, so a long time ago now. and, and he said, Bruce, I only need help for 6 months. So I had a young wife and one child. We now have 5 kids and lots of grandkids. But back then, just we were much younger, of course. And so I said, okay, Dad, I'll come back and help you for 6 months. So I came back to Ottawa, came back to Canada in 83, and I found out that my dad had 3 partners, and they had developed 6 humongous warehouses, like 45 or 50,000 square feet each, 20-foot or 24-foot ceiling height, column free. And they had put inside these 6 warehouses a roller disco rink. Now, some of our viewers will not know what roller disco rinks are. I had no idea. I don't even know if we had roller disco or disco music in Australia. But anyway, so here I am. I said, Dad, you own roller disco rinks with 3 partners. I said, no. So I didn't know anything about it. So I went there and said, well, I got to try it out. And so I rented roller skates, and you go on this hardwood floor, beautiful hardwood floor, and you skate around in circles, and there's like a disco ball and lights, and Donna Summer is playing, etc. And then after about 15 minutes, they stopped the music. So I stopped, and then they started up again. You go in the opposite direction. And now after about an hour of this, Denise, I found it incredibly boring. So I took off my skates and I went to see my dad's partners the next day. And I said to the 3 fellows, and they were older than me. I was in my 20s then, and these guys were in their 40s. I said, why don't we do this? I'll trade you our half of the operating business, the roller disco business, for your half of the real estate. And the older fellow said, oh, Bruce, you're a young guy. You're making a mistake. That's a terrible idea. We'd be taking advantage of you. Real estate is kind of boring. It's slow moving, And I said, well, and then they said, oh, by the way, the roller disco business is a cash cow. I didn't know what a cash cow was, but I assumed it was something good. And I said, well, you keep the cow and I'll take the real estate. So we made the trade. Now, 18 months later, roller disco music, I think it just died. You couldn't pay a teenager to go. And unfortunately, they went broke. So I ended up with 6 empty warehouses. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with them now? But that was just the start of the tech scene in Ottawa. So within a few months, I had them leased to these wonderful tech companies full of really cool young companies doing really neat stuff. And of course, at much higher lease rates than I was getting before from the disco people. And the value went up. So we refinanced. We took out millions of dollars in tax-free money.